Yo, what up, fellow Pokemon people? I was thinking to myself, why not share a little bit of my thought process throughout this Pokemon draft? I think we can all learn a lot from each other, especially also help out the newer players a little bit. So I'm gonna be making some vlogs, you can say, about my process through the whole Pokemon tournament, and I think it would be nice to just, cause some conversations, maybe stir some drama. Oh my god, time to trash talk some people. Let's go. So if you want to hop on this shit, then yeah, why not record yourself as well? Make a little video for the fans. Anyway, first thing I'm doing here today is I'm just gonna give my initial thoughts on everybody's draft. Make just a short tier list. Just say what are my first thoughts when I'm looking at the Pokemons that everybody took. And I would love to hear where I'm wrong. Please tell me where I'm wrong. And yeah, I'm thinking maybe after every week I can make like a little video, talking about how I made the team the way I made. And I'm just really curious to hear also what your guys' thought processes are. And I need to get this Pokemon shit out of my head because damn, it's living rent free in it. And hopefully by just vomiting words now, we can do that. So I'm gonna talk about the people in my pool and what are the things that I see about their teams that I'm already kind of thinking about a little bit, without going into too much detail. All right, cool. So let's get it started. So first things first, let's go to Mr. Jasper over here. I'm in the purple pool. Obviously, the hardest pool of them all. So we're going to be seeing some very strong teams. So first of all, here we have Jasper. He's got the Kyogre, he's got the Mega Swampert, Archaludon, Kilowattrel, Hitmontop, Ludicolo. You can see the rest on the screen yourself. What is the strongest thing about this team is just how dedicated it is to the rain, to the using the rain to its advantage. I mean, it's very, very apparent because you have multiple Swift Swim Pokemon. I believe 4 different ones. Swift Swim doubling your speed in the rain, therefore being very, very strong. So Mega Swampert, for example, it has Swift Swim. It goes from a 70 base speed to 140. You have the same on Beartic, Golduck, and on Ludicolo. So what I think, one of the things that is very nice about this team is you're gonna probably try to set up Kyogre and Archaludon. There's a reason why the TERA is on the Archaludon. Kyogre can go with Calm Minds, and Archaludon can use the Electro Shot. It's a signature move to boost its special attack and just keep dishing out damage. Now it has 2 Fake Outs in order to really help set that up. It's Hitmontop and Ludicolo, both of which I'm assuming we will see quite a lot of. Ludicolo, I think you have to take to every single match because otherwise you're weak to Electric and Grass, right? Mostly, otherwise you're very weak to Grass, so you want to take that Ludicolo. And Hitmontop, the Intimidate is going to be really good, especially if you're going to set up Kyogre or Calm Minds. I could see a world in which you don't because Archaludon has a really good defense, so maybe you don't. What I think is really nice is you have the Tailwind on the Kilowattrel, and you have quite a lot of electric resists. You also have some grass resist with the Archaludon and the Kilowattrel as well also resists grass. But I'm still a little bit worried about the fact that both Kyogre and Mega Swampert, 2 very expensive Pokemon, very good ones, are vulnerable to that grass. You don't really want to have that overlap. And what I don't like is the fact that the Terra is not on any of your water Pokemon. So your water Pokemon, there are gonna be water no matter what. So grass is gonna be good. You have Terra on Archaludon and Regieleki. I mean, Regieleki is going to do a frick ton of damage at very high speeds. And with Tailwind, he's basically going to be unstoppable. You can also dish out Electro Webs and Thunder Waves to slow down the opposition. But besides that, besides Tailwind and Regieleki, you don't actually have a Trick Room option, and your Pokemon aren't that fast without the rain. So if you're not in rain, you're actually you get outsped pretty quickly. I mean, Golduck, Mega Swampert, Ludicolo, you all have 70 to 85 speed, which I don't really like all that much. You also are lacking coverage. You have no fire moves. You have no psychic, rock, bug, ghost, dark. The fact that you don't have ghost and dark means that ghost and psychic are basically unchecked. You have nothing to really hit those. And not having a fairy type, that's always just kind of rough because it resists a lot and it's a very good type to have. You don't have Will-O-Wisp either. You have no access to Follow Me. So once your threats are set up, it can be quite difficult to protect them properly, especially Kyogre, because you can't Terra it. For that reason, I am putting the Kyogre team in the B tier. Here I have like a little tier list to show what I'm thinking. Then let's go to the next team. I'm going to Kun here. So Kun is also in the purple pool, and he has got the team built around two very strong legendary Pokemon, Eternatus and Ho-Oh, both of which are very hard to kill. Eternatus is very tanky, has 140, 95, 95 in his defenses, but also does a lot of damage, 145 special attack, 130 speed. These are things we need to look at. We need to look at the speeds all around the board, and we see that there is plenty of fast moving mons, so you're not super reliant on any type of speed control. You can play in you can even play in Trick Room because you have the little bit slower Pokemons, but you probably want to play in Tailwind, or even without Tailwind, you can just go speed for speed. So that's quite nice. You have a clear synergy. You have a clear strategy here, which is going for like a stall/setup build, because you have the Sinistcha for the healing with the Hospitality, and the Ho-Oh, which heals itself with the Regenerator, and Terras in order to avoid Stealth Rock damage being a really big problem. It might need to Terra because of the Stealth Rocks, and if you're playing against this, you want to bring a Stealth Rocks for sure, so it doesn't get away with Terraring for fire or flying, and dealing extra damage that way. So that is definitely something that you should keep in mind. Also, because of that, I don't think we'll see Ninjas come out a lot, because it's also that 4 times weak to rocks. If the team doesn't have Stealth Rocks, then it's pretty nice. I really like the very support package that we have here. We have Mega Bandit. If you're playing against a lot of Fake Outs or Tailwinds, it's going to be a lot more difficult to use that, because you got to be scared of the Prankster Encore coming out. Also has some other good support options like Taunt and Knockoff and Icy Wind. Thunder Wave. It has pretty much the whole support package that you will. It just doesn't have Tailwind, which is the main sort of downside that you could see, but it also can't be Fake Outed itself because it's a ghost type. I think it's pretty strong. The Stonejourner you can use if you want some extra damage because of the Power Spot ability. Grants 20% extra damage or 30% to its ally. If you're doing calculations, you can look, will Power Spot help me enough? And then if you combine that with like Helping Hand, you're getting into like really high damage territory, and there's a lot of Helping Hands. Stonejourner itself doesn't have Helping Hand, but since it's a comparable boost, you can, if you're not able to Helping Hand, just switch into Stonejourner. Vaporeon and Umbreon, I think they're going to be used a little bit less frequently. I mean, it can be nice to have it for like specific resistances. Umbreon against like a Psychic spam team. Looking at Psychic, it's not like you were very weak to it, but the Eternatus is weak to it. So for that reason, having the Umbreon as a pivot against a Psychic team might be very nice. Vaporeon, Water Absorb, could be good into like Kyogre team, for example, the team that Jasper had. So you have pretty much all your mons. Ninjas can do some stuff, so can Shiinotic. Pretty much all your mons are contributing to something, and then you also have Mew, which is so incredibly flexible because it can learn every TM in the game. So you can't really prep that well against Mew, and it has its Z move, which I forget what it does. But yeah, the Ho-Oh Terra I think is a menace once you get it set up a little bit. And it's just really hard to kill. It's really hard to kill because you got the Rage Powder on the Sinistcha as well. You got the Fake Outs on the Tinkaton and the Mew. I think you probably bring these 5 mons pretty much every game. Maybe not the Tinkaton, but definitely turn to Sinistcha, Mew, Ho-Oh. And you probably run Toxic on a couple mons. So if you're playing against this, you might want to use the Haze to get rid of like stab boosts, because Eternatus will be hard to remove once it has some stab boosts. And maybe Defog to get rid of like hazards of his own, because he will want to play the long game probably. For this, I think it's an A tier, because I think pretty much all of his Pokemon are usable, and it's gonna be hard to prepare against Mew. So I think he's doing a really good job. Which brings us to number 3 in the third one in my pool, which is Mr. Aryamon. Okay. Aryamon's gotten a really interesting draft this time around. I mean, he was the winner of the whole thing last time, so big expectations from him coming out this time again. See if he can get the repeat. But what I think is interesting what Aryaman has done is he has chosen two really heavy hitters as his first two picks. Very different from what anybody else has done so far. So usually, if you do this, you don't have that many points left for your supporting cast, and you do see that the supporting cast is a little bit piecemeal. It's like some things that are just assembled, but it actually does kind of come together to be a pretty good supporting package. Because you have the Talonflame, which has the priority Tailwind. You have Electabuzz, which is a very, very, very good redirector with the EV lights, giving it lots of extra defense and special defense because it can still evolve. The Vital Spirit, you can't put it to sleep, which is quite nice, so you don't need like any sort of terrain in order to enable that sleep immunity. I don't think there's a lot of sleep chosen by other people, but you never know, it might be useful. Comfy is a really good combo with the Terrapagos. Why? Because before you terrestrialize the Terrapagos, it has an ability that if it's at full health, it takes every damage it takes. It's not very effective. Comfy can heal it back up, and with priority, which is pretty cool due to the triage ability, and that keeps Terrapagos from dying. But the thing is, once you do terrestrialize it, it loses that ability. That being said, it's interesting. Of course, you want to terrestrialize the Terrapagos, which, I think he's done very wisely, and that's very nice because it frees up points for the other Pokemon, which is why he got away with drafting another very expensive Pokemon. But if you do terrestrialize the Terrapagos, and you're probably bringing Calyrex and Terrapagos to every match, otherwise you're missing out on a lot of points that you're not bringing. You have two Pokemon that are very, very vulnerable to Wide Guard, because the Terrapagos, Terra Star Storm, it is a spread move, so is Calyrex, Shadow, Astral Barrage. Those are the main moves, so Wide Guard is going to be very strong here. Also, two special attackers. You have another special attacker in Mega Ampharos. You have another special attacker in Enamorous Incarnate. So special attack, Calm Mind stuff is going to be pretty hard to deal with for him. And you don't want to bring Haze on Calyrex Shadow Rider. So it has some interesting shenanigans, I think. Also with the Gothorita, with the fake out Shadow tag. If you get like a nice scenario where you put Terrapagos and Gothorita in front of two Pokemon that can't really damage it, Terrapagos can set up into Infinity and just completely wipe the enemies. If you are then able to maybe set up a Tailwind or a Trick Room, both of which can work. So that's actually really nice. But because I think Calyrex and Terrapagos are quite similar, but want different support mons, I feel like the team will struggle a little bit in that sense. So that's why I think I'm going to put it in the average category. So on team number 4, that is going to be Justin. Okay, well, Justin's team is scary as hell. Choosing not to Terra his most expensive Pokemon, but instead choosing to Terra two of his more middle of the pack Pokemon, Darmanitan, Galar, and Aegislash. What I really like, just looking at the speed tiers, stuff is fast. You got the Megalopian at 135, Shaman Sky 127, Monkidori is 106, Taurus Aqua is at 100, comes in with Intimidate, is very fast. Darmanitan Galar is 95. You can put a Choice Scarf on it because due to Guerrilla Tactics, you can only choose one move anyway. It's going to be super fast. And then you have the Aegislash with, if it changes his mode is... it's still slow, but it does have like stuff like Shadow Sneak, so it has access to good priority. Now, one thing that's really scary about this is the fact that it can go both Tailwind and Trick Room. In the Trick Room, suddenly your Mudsteel is very, very scary, and your Avalok Hisui with both monstrous attack stats of 125 plus, but very low speed. So what I expect him to be doing is to use those fast Pokemon to take out key threats under Trick Room, take out other fast Pokemon, and then go into Tailwind or Trick Room mode later into the battle. I think that's a very, very strong game plan because Trick Room doesn't last super long. It lasts only 5 turns, and I expect the match to take longer because it's 6 Pokemons. I think Stealth Rock might be a little bit problematic. It has like 3 weaknesses to rocks, and I expect it to want to switch out a lot because you got the Mega Lopunny with the U-turn. You have the Darmanitan Galar with I think U-turn as well, because you're gonna be running that choice item on it. And those are, and especially the Darmanitan Galarian Darmanitan is weak to rocks, but Terra stylization helps you fix that. That's the thing. The Durmanitan Galar can just absolutely nuke everything because the attack is so incredibly high. Guerrilla Tactics 1.5 times and it's already 140. It's 210 attack. That's incredible. And we haven't even talked about Necrozma Dawnwings, which is Pokemon that does a lot of damage by itself, but also provides a lot of good support. I mean, it can put down Stealth Rocks. It can Thunder Wave knock off. It can set up a Trick Room and be very tanky. It's really tanky, but it can also Calm Mind. It is weak to Ghost and Dark, so are Aegislash and Monkey Dory. So that is something that might pose a little bit of a problem. You do have quite a lot of 4 times weaknesses. But I think the flexibility of Terra more than makes up for that. So for me, this is going to be one of the most scary teams. And I'm putting it in the S tier top contender. Then we have Dan over here in the purple team. In the purple group. Just looking at the type chart, you can immediately see a bit of an issue. We are weak to fire on almost every Pokemon. We are weak to rocks on a lot of things. And we're weak to steel on a lot of things. And that is just kind of the byproduct of picking this many ice types. You have 5 ice types. And it is very, very committed to hail. If you don't use hail, though, or if the hail gets denied in any way, you're just going to be super, super weak to certain types. Even if the hail is up, though, like the fact that you are so weak to certain types is going to be kind of rough, especially because there's also no Terra to kind of absolve some of that, some of those problems. You have the Calyrex Ice. That is a very, very strong Pokemon, especially in 6v6. It can snowball very hard, but the support for it, the main support for it is that Farigiraf. You have the Farigiraf that blocks priority moves, so the Calyrex Ice cannot be flinched, which is really nice. It's going to be super strong against something like Incineroar or Scrafty that has that Intimidate and the Fake Out, because you can just run like Clear Amulet on it. And then those Pokemon are basically useless because you also can't Fake Out through the Farigiraf. You are very reliant on Trick Room. Very, very reliant on Trick Room and on Snow. But if you get both of those up, you might be quite unstoppable. The thing is just it's going to be quite predictable. So people use something like Imprison on the Trick Room. If people use something like Prankster Rain Dance, Prankster Sunny Day, you might find yourself in a world of hurt, which is why I'm putting it in the B tier. I think there's just a lot that can be done against this. Which one is it? Oh, did I not put this? What was the first Pokemon you picked? Tapu. Oh, Farigiraf, yeah, okay. So Farigiraf goes in average here. Okay, then we got Tim over here. Tim has Pokemon that I wanted at first. When I went into it, I really like the Zygarde. I think it's super powerful with the Power Construct. It's really hard to kill if you do not one-shot it, and especially with Terra. You're not gonna be able to one-shot it anyway. It gets so much HP from that Power Construct that it becomes really hard to deal with. Zygarde, one kind of sad thing is that with Tapu Fini, you will reduce the power of Dragon type moves. That shouldn't be a huge problem because Zygarde has 1000 Arrows, which is a ground type move that even hits flying types. So nothing is really super immune to your ground type moves. You can just hit them with that. Probably want to coil up behind the Grimmsnarl screens. You can just keep coiling up, get really high defense and attack stats. It's going to be pretty freaking scary and really hard to deal with. It does have some weaknesses. I mean, it can get toxic down pretty easily, unless you, of course, Terra to Poison or Steel. So those are definitely options for you. Wide Guard can be a pretty big issue, especially if you are playing it next to the Tapu Fini, so you don't have the Draco Meteor. You're using spread moves pretty much for sure. And without Zygarde, you're not really all that happy. You have Celesteela as another big threat. Tapu Fini in itself is a threat, but it's usually built more supportive, and I do recommend building it more supportively. Grimmsnarl, same thing. It's more supportive. You can go like the Foul Play. Arcanine, Extreme Speed is pretty nice, and then, Serena is still some damage, but the rest here, these 4 mons are all support. That's why I also wrote down limited variety, because I don't think you're ever taking more than one of these 3 mons here. So that leaves you with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mons to basically choose from, because you're choosing from this group of 3, and you're probably not even choosing these, so you're mostly choosing from 7. The Chimeco has some nice utility, but the same utility can be already found in Oranguru, Grimmsnarl, and Tapu Fini. That's the thing. Oranguru synergizes quite nicely with Zygarde and Tapu Fini because they have nice spread moves. And you do want to get the Trick Room up because you are definitely on the slow side. There's nothing above 100 speed. If you can deny Trick Room against this team, which will probably be your main focus, is see if you can get a Dark move to just one-shot that Oranguru. Then Oranguru is in trouble. If the knockoff usually doesn't kill it because you build it very, very defensively. But if you can double hit into it, and there's only one fake out, there's no follow me, then it will be pretty difficult. You can lead with Grimmsnarl or Oranguru to set up like a screen, protect the Oranguru, but then you have 2 supports in play. If your opponent starts setting up on you, you really have a bit of a problem. So that's why I do end up putting it into the B tier. And this is the Tapu Fini one. That brings us to, I believe, the last one in my pool, which is Martin. Wow. I feel like it's night and day since the last draft. I think this is scary as heck. He somehow managed to get a 45-point Mon and still have 10 Pokemon in total that are all relevant. He spent TERA on Miraidon, which makes it an insane beast, because Miraidon's main weakness is that it's frail. It one-shots pretty much everything with the Electro Drift or the Draco Meteor. But it's easy to kill with like Fake Out plus some kind of move. But with the TERA, that's going to be a whole different story. Suddenly you have to be way, way more careful. And yeah, it's going to be tough. It's paired with the Iron Hands as well, which is one of its best partners. So synergy there is immediately really good. And then you have your sort of win con, which is having that Dondozo Tatsugiri in the back, of which Dondozo can also TERA. Your opponent's not going to know which TERA your Dondozo has. Your opponent is not going to know which Pokemon it's going to need to be able to kill that Dondozo in the late game. Yeah, there are some sort of universal answer to Dondozo, using Haze to clear the stat boosts, Toxicking it, faking it out. But there are ways to circumvent that when you are the Dondozo guy, which is most importantly killing whatever is the threat to the Dondozo, and only you really know what is the threat to the Dondozo, and you can very easily use Miraidon, Minshao, Iron Hands to do that. Then you have Sigilif as a really good catch-all support Pokemon, Tailwind, Defog, Trick Room, and it's not super tanky, but it's tanky enough. Then you have Charjabug, because you never know, you'll never see it coming when the battery comes in and suddenly the Miraidon does a little bit more than what you calced for and what you calculated for, and then your Pokemon dies. Mega Venusaur, I'm personally not entirely sure what it does, but it might be like a Sun counter and you don't want to Mega it, and you can just Chlorophyll, Sleep Powder stuff. So in that sense, it's another nice support option. It can also be an alternative damage option, because your Miraidon, well, I guess it doesn't hit ground types, and Mega Venusaur can with like a Giga Drain, which also has Dondozo for that. And then Bastiodon, it's a really strong, sturdy Pokemon with Wide Guard, Stealth Rock, Taunt. I believe you can go Body Press on it, and it does a lot of damage as well because you have 168 defense. So that hits some specific legendary Pokemon quite nicely, or anything that's weak to fighting type is just gonna get freaked by that. And you want a Stealth Rock setter, and that's that guy. And you have Raichu Alola, who's also super strong with the Electric Terrain of the Miraidon. So I think it's a super strong team. The main thing is that the counterplay is quite obvious, right? The Dondozo Haze, you got to set up for that. The Miraidon Electric Terrain. If you override it with like a Grassy Terrain or a Psychic Terrain, Miraidon's heavily nerfed. So while that is true, I still believe that it's much harder to counterplay this than to play with this, which is why I think it is put in the top contenders for this league. So these are my initial thoughts on the contenders in my pool and in the purple pool. I will also go over the other ones probably at some point just for fun. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting started. My first matchup is going to be against Dan. Let me know if I said anything that's wrong or stupid. But for now, this is what I believe to be the distribution in my pool. And I wish everybody the best of luck.